Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Danielle for those of you who are brand new, and for those of you who are regulars, welcome back. It's so lovely to have you. It is a beautiful spring day. I'm currently filming this in April, although I think the video is actually going to go up in May. And I wanted to give you guys a little tour of our garden before it got out of the beautiful bloomy spring season and started getting into more of the summer season. So let's get into that lovely tour. Okay, so starting off, if you hear any fun noises, I have my microphone attached to my son right now, so he might pop in with a little coo here or there, but no worries. He's having a great time hanging out with mommy shooting this video. And we are going to walk around. I'm going to show you guys some of my favorite parts of my garden. My garden is honestly one of my favorite pieces of my whole house. I love getting the spring garden set every single year. It's just something that I really enjoy. It gives me peace, it gives me serenity to start really planting some new stuff, to head to the garden shop and pick out some new items. Now, like I said a minute ago in the video, it is April, so our blooming season is in that weird transition spot, right? So our daffodils, which are our first bloomers here in the Northeast, they have already come and gone. They are our March flower. They usually come in throughout March and then they peter out by the beginning of April, but they looked beautiful. I got a couple of pictures of them, so I will put them up here so you can see how beautiful our daffodils were. So they are continuing to just multiply every year, which is something that I love about daffodils. It makes them super stunning to just see in a space because they just continue to get bigger and bigger. And this year we actually cut a bunch of our daffodils in half after their growing season and transplanted them to other areas of our garden, which is also something that I really enjoy to do to help make my garden look more full. So with all of that being said, I'm going to start you off in our kind of alleyway coming up into our backyard. First of all, we don't have a fenced in backyard. We do have a fence in the back of our yard. But we don't have a fully fenced in backyard, which is fine. We really love our neighbors to the left of us, which is where we kind of have the open space over here. And when we first bought this house, this space was bare. There was nothing in it. We have since planted a whole bunch of hydrangeas, and our neighbor has planted a whole bunch of boxwoods, and they are starting to grow in very lovely over the past several years now, and I'm starting to really love how this space in between our two yards looks. So let's go look at that really fast. Okay, so like I said, this little alleyway that I have here is kind of our walkway from the front of our house to the back of our house, and we have been planting it with hydrangeas. We started putting in a new hydrangea every single year since we first moved here, and we did it for the first 6 years, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, for the first 6 years that we were here, and then we added a couple of hydrangeas to the front of our house. So we do have, I just bought our 10th hydrangea, which is crazy to even think that this is going to be our 10th year here this summer, but I love filling the space in. Like I said, all the way back here was a completely blank space when we bought the house, and we've just kind of been slowly adding it, and then my neighbor put in the boxwoods on the other side, and I really love how this whole space fills in. Now, I do have to say they're super small right now being springtime, and that is because my husband cut them back to almost nothing during the wintry season, and we don't do that every single year because what will end up happening is we might forfeit a couple of blooms this year, but it really helps maintain them and make them not feel like they're way overgrown. So I will be doing another kind of summary tour as we go along. You will see how much these guys have just doubled and tripled in size by the time summertime comes, and they're just absolutely stunning. I love them. And then on the opposite side of me, we have both our lilies, our hostas, and our irises. Again, this space was completely bare when we first bought this house as well. And my husband has been slowly kind of cutting up all of our other plants and redistributing them, which is something that I love when we're talking about being affordable with your gardening. Instead of going out and buying new plants every single year, wait for your old plants to die off, and then at the end of the season, cut up the bulbs or the pieces and move move them into another section of the yard, and then you're going to have twice as much life. You can either do this at the end of the season or the very beginning of the next season. We've done it a bunch over the years, and it's how we've it's how we've duplicated our garden over and over again to make it a really nice, full and fun space. And I love how just full this looks. We only have one little area right here that still needs to be filled in. Like I said, I bought a hydrangea that is sitting on our porch. That's kind of what I do. I buy a hydrangea, I put it on the porch for the season. At the end of the season, my husband plants it in the ground. So we really only have space for one, maybe two hydrangeas, and this entire walkway will be filled up. And in the summertime, it's probably my favorite place to walk by and look at. I love it. And then our irises just started getting their buds on them. They will probably bloom within about 2 weeks or so. They're usually our Mayflower, and I am really excited. They're purple. They're very beautiful. I can't wait for them to come up. There's something that I love every year. And then our June flower is our tiger lilies. They pop up right after the irises are done, and that's something else we love to do with our garden, is make it so that there are constantly plants rotating in the look, so that there's always something blooming, always something beautiful. And it's something that I really enjoy about how we set up our garden thus far. Okay, now moving into the bulk area of our garden, like getting into the entryway, we have these beautiful rows of Sharon. I have one directly next to me, I have one right here, and then we have 3 more in the back. They came with the house. They are stunning. They create this beautiful almost rose wall throughout the summer season that really kind of fills out the side of our house and makes it feel like the little secret garden. That's what I love about our yard, is it's not very big. I'm being totally honest with you about that. It's not a big yard, it's not a big space, but we've done a lot with the space that we have. And we have both the rows of Sharon on this side, and I'll show you when we get over there, fire bushes on the other side that have been here so long that they are essentially at this point, I'd say like 10 to 12 foot tall trees, which is very, very nice to have, like I said, green walls on both sides. It makes the yard feel very private. Even though we don't really have a fence surrounding the space, it still gives us that privacy that we really enjoy. And I love how these come out. My husband cuts these back way far too as well every year, because there have been a couple of years where he did not prune them as intensely, and they got to be like probably 10 plus feet tall. They get really, really tall. So we try to keep them somewhat manageable looking and not being absolutely crazy. And then this area here is brand new to my space. Just 2 years ago, my husband took what was filled with like rocks all in here, and he built this beautiful brick walking space and part of the area, and then the other area he left for me to create a garden bed, which is something that we have been working on over the past few years. Like I said, I've tried not to like go out and spend $1 gazillion on plants, so the way that we help to make it more affordable for ourselves is we cut plants throughout the season and add new stuff to the space. And this year in particular, we also stole some of my aunt's plants from her yard. She has a beautiful, I think it's like 2 or 3 acre house. She does fantastic gardening. I love the way her entire terrace looks, and we cut some of her plants in half and added those to the space. So starting here, we have some lovely lavender that I actually planted from seed a couple of years ago. I'm so happy that it keeps coming back year after year. I do have to clean it up a little bit. It's kind of a mess right now, but you can see the new lavender is growing in. And then right next to it, my husband actually planted a brand new cut area of daffodils. So we didn't have daffodils there during the blooming season, but he's added them there now that the blooming season is done. So next year we will have some beautiful daffodils that pop up first thing, and then we have some lamb's ear next to that. This stuff multiplies like crazy. We got one tiny little plant, literally like this size, from one of his coworkers, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago now. I planted it on that side of my yard and have since cut it in half every single year, and I have it all over the yard now. So this is a great plant to be able to trade with people, or to just use to have a ground covering that you can continue to like cut and add to new areas of your yard. And then I have this beautiful peonies that is just so stunning. It has such gorgeous life to it every single year when it blooms. Right next to it, we have a very sad looking peony, so that's because it was something that we got out of my aunt's garden. It might not look the greatest this season, but next season it will look beautiful. And then just behind that, we have 2 echinacea that we also just took out of my aunt's garden this past year, and I can't wait for them to bloom. They're going to bloom more in the summertime, so my peonies will bloom more in like late May-ish, sometimes early June, and the echinacea will probably be like later in the June. So again, having that like pattern of plants popping up at different seasons, so there's something in bloom all of the time. I really love that. And then my husband added some more daffodils just behind that space. Okay, so walking further back into the yard, this garden bed I am so falling in love with. I just think it's so stunning. And here's the thing. These 3 rows of Sharon, when we first bought the house, were all the way up front here. And we kept those there for so many years, and the entire back was bare because it made the entire bed extremely shaded throughout the entire year. And I was not a huge fan of that, so we couldn't really plant a whole lot. But then I got this fantastic idea for my husband to dig all of the rows of Sharon up and move them. So the year that we had our first son, he was on paternity leave for 3 months, and that is exactly when he did it. He took his time, he dug up all of the rows of Sharon from this like front line of the garden bed, and he moved them to the back. And since then, I have been filling this garden bed in. I absolutely love it. It's so beautiful. So we started with, the first thing that I filled in with in the very back is some heuchera, and I got this gorgeous kind of rusty color heuchera. They're so lovely, and they are a shade plant, so they worked well. We have our dogwood tree here, which is stunning. It's one of my favorite things we have in the entire yard. I'm probably going to say that about everything because I love plants, but we have the heuchera right underneath of it, this beautiful rust color, which adds a nice pop of color in the back line, so it's not just all green. And then we had some hostas in our front yard that my husband split, I want to say it was 2 seasons ago, so 2 years ago, and started popping them in different areas in the house. Started popping them into different areas of the yard. Now they're getting huge once again. I love them. They add so much space. And again, they're a great plant. Like if you have somebody in your life that also loves gardening, they're a great plant to like split with people and kind of share with them so that they're not having to go out and spend a ton of money on new plants. You can literally just cut them and split them, and they will be a huge show for someone in the following season. They're great in the shade. They're decent in the sun. If you have them in a more full sun area, 100% would water them on the regular because they do dry out kind of quickly if they don't have enough water, but they're really beautiful. And then we added some irises back here, again from my aunt's garden, and they are a different color. She told us that she believes they're going to be yellow. So we have purple irises up in the front. We'll have the yellow ones in the back. I'm really excited about that. And then my husband also just added daffodils. I think he did it yesterday. So we will have some nice daffodils in the beginning of the season next year as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then just past the irises, we have the bleeding heart plant. I just bought these 2 last year. They are gorgeous plants. They look like they have like little jewelry pieces hanging off of them that are in the shape of a heart, i.e. the reason why we call it the bleeding heart plant. But it is such a sweet and beautiful plant. They have both doubled in size since last year, so I'm really loving the show that they are giving us, this beautiful kind of spring show. And then they're more of a cool weather plant, so again, once it starts to get kind of hot around here, like we've had a few hot days like in the 80s, but today is only 61 degrees outside. Once it starts to get really hot, they'll actually kind of die off completely and go all the way down to nothing, which is why we like having the hostas right next to them, which kind of fill in the space after they die down and really kind of keep the area still looking like really full and flush and ready for that summer season, so it just doesn't look like bare mulched ground throughout the rest of the season. And then in the front here, I actually don't have anything planted yet. Like I said, this is the space that I've been like continually working on over the years, and I have not found a plant that I really like right there, like a nice ground covering. I like to take my time, sort of the same with my decorating. I don't want to just buy things to have them in a space. I want them to be something that I'm really going to love, really enjoy, really fill out the space. So I haven't fully decided what I want to have in the front, but it's helpful as I'm adding plants throughout the years to see how they really kind of all blend together, and that gives me a better idea of what I want to add up in the front. So possibly lavender, although I do have a few lavender patches throughout the house, or throughout the house. I keep saying that, but we are outside. Throughout the yard, but we'll see where I'm going to put that. And then a little bit further back, I have some beautiful ferns. They're the ferns that are like both purple and green. I love them. They are great shade plants, so they work, again, really well under the dogwood. And we have some larger ferns in the back corner box that, again, have been multiplying like crazy. So I'm most likely going to pull some of those out and stick them in the back here as well, just to add, again, more texture. I love how ferns kind of grow up really tall and spread out. They just add a different element, and I like things that are kind of like tiered down in all different shapes and sizes. So I'm excited to add that to that space. All right, and then at the very end of this long garden bed area, I have these roses. We actually bought these roses from Home Depot, I want to say like 7 years ago. We've had them for a really long time. They were one of the first things that we bought. We weren't really sure if this was going to be a great location for them because they're directly under the dogwood, well, like slightly off to the side from the dogwood, but the sun sort of follows this line, so they do get a decent amount of sun throughout the day, and they are stunning. Not only are they beautiful colors, this one is pink, like a hot pink, this one is peach. Not only are they beautiful, but they smell absolutely amazing. I think they're just plain old knockout roses from Home Depot. They're stunning. I love them. And then just over here we have another rose bush. This one is a Julia Child. It is yellow. It is not doing that well. We are working our best to give it some life. I think we bought it like 2 or 3 years ago, and it just keeps getting kind of like a black mold fungus sort of situation. So my husband keeps like trying to play doctor and take care of it. Hopefully it continues to grow well, and we can see in the season to come if it actually blooms really lovely. But it's funny because it's like right next to these other 2 roses that do so well. So hopefully it'll do a lot better this season, and we can continue to have it throughout the year. Now, continuing around into our garden area, we just bought this butterfly bush a couple of weeks ago. We had a butterfly bush here. It was a transplant from like over in the other section of the yard, and it did not transplant well, and it ended up dying after 1 season. So we really loved the butterfly bush there, so we decided to buy a new one and put it there. I have some gladiolus bulbs that I've planted between the rose, the Julia Child rose, and the butterfly bush, and I'm really excited to see them come back this year because I wasn't sure if they were going to winter over well, but they've already started to bloom. So cool, very neat. If they don't come back next year, that's fine. I can find something else that I want to throw in there. And then just next to that, I have some catmint. I love catmint. It is so beautiful. However, it gets huge full. It's actually a great pollinator plant, which is one of the things that I enjoy about it. It attracts the bees, which then gives life to the rest of the garden, gives life to the roses. So we love to have the catmint there, and like I said, it gets really full. So if you want catmint in your yard, know that it's going to be a very large full plant. We do our best to cut it all the way back down to the ground every year so that it's not taking over the yard, but it looks beautiful. And then right next to that on our trellis, we have I'm going to insert it here because I absolutely know what it is that my mama brain is not letting me pull it out of the air right now to be actually able to tell you guys. I've literally lost my whole mind, but that's okay. It is so stunning. It has these big, beautiful flowers every single year. It's going to climb all the way up the trellis, and we love this. We got this trellis from, I will link that below. Well, oh my gosh. My mama brain is not working for me today. I'm so sorry, guys. But we got, Plow and Hearth. Plow and Hearth. I think it's called Plow and Hearth. Like I said, I will link it below. It is a beautiful trellis. We love it. We got it a couple years ago. It has been absolutely stunning in this garden throughout the entire time that we've had it. And it's like a great entryway into our back patio. And then just here on the other side of our trellis, we have a beautiful Eden climber rose. It is this lovely, like palish pink. It just has the most beautiful petals when it is in full bloom. So I'm really excited. This is going to be our third season with this rose. So as you can see, it's really starting to grow super tall up the trellis, and I'm very, very happy with how that has all come out. And then over here we have a whole bunch of lavender that I've planted over the years. It's come back every single season. I love it. And just behind the lavender we have 3 more peonies, and man, my mama brain has like tapped me out today. Another awesome plant, but I will let you know what that is. But it is beautiful. It comes back with some really tall, lovely blooms every single year, and I really enjoy just how much it fills out this space. And now we are on the back patio, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, the back patio is a complete mess. Just because it's springtime, we haven't had a chance to like get the power washer out and really wash down all of the concrete from the winter season. That is coming up on our to-do list. We just haven't gotten there yet, but we will be taking over that very, very soon and going through and washing all of the furniture. The furniture we've had for a really long time, and we don't cover it because it's just kind of old family furniture that we had gotten from other family members. So we were never like, oh, this is super important to make sure it stays super taken care of or clean. So it's just kind of out here. But we do like to give it a great power wash, spray down every single year. We have our fire pit over here, which is quite lovely. And then we have all of our garden boxes. And our garden boxes at the moment are empty because it is, like I said, April, and May is prime planting season here for any sort of vegetables, fruits. We could put some brassicas in. I do believe my husband has planted some lettuces in our one U-shaped garden box, but besides that, everything is pretty empty except for our grapevine. I'm going to take you there next. So these are 2 homemade trellises that we did. I have one here and I have one to my right hand side. And essentially what we did was we went to Tractor and Supply and we bought these like $35 hog panel gate pen thingies, and we literally just bent them in half and put T-posts on either side to keep them in place, and I've loved them. We did this 3 or 4 years ago now. They've held up really, really well, and we do all of our climbing fruits and vegetables on this trellis. Even stuff that like isn't specifically supposed to climb, we use this for our climbing foods. So right now we have a grapevine in it, and it is already starting to look so beautiful. I can't wait for it to start producing grapes because we love grapes in this family. We go through them so much in the I was going to say in the summer season, but honestly, we eat them all of the time year round. So it'll be really nice to grow some and not have to be buying some so much at the store. And then on this side, what we generally do is I plant about 4 different cherry tomato plants at the bottom, and they continue to grow up to the top for the entire season. My son loves this because he just comes on out here and he picks the cherry tomatoes and he eats them, and they're just super fun. So I think that's what we're going to be doing there. I'm not 100% sure what we're doing on the other side yet. We still need to kind of go through all that. My husband is more of the person that kind of controls all of the vegetables. Not controls, he like asks my opinion, but he really does all of the work for the vegetables. I am the flower person. I love picking out all the flowers. I love planting them. I love maintaining them, taking care of them, figuring out where they're supposed to go. My husband's been getting more into the flowers lately, but like the fruits and vegetables are his domain. He loves to grow specific fruits and vegetables, and I am the waterer of all things, but he really has started this great from seed sort of starting space in our basement where he's gotten all of our vegetables ready to go. We've already started to harden off a lot of them, so we will be planting them probably within 2 weeks. They say right around Mother's Day for our area is when fruits and vegetables can go out into the garden, because anytime before that, you just don't know if you're going to have an overnight frost. Like I said, it was like almost 90 degrees last week. And then this week overnight, it's been like 39, 41. You just never know. So it's a lot easier for us to just hold off until at least mid-May and plant everything, but we're so close, so it's probably going to be going into the ground, like I said, in the next 2 weeks, and I cannot wait. I will show you guys in our summer garden tour how many fruits and vegetables we have throughout all of these boxes, and my husband has built every single one of these boxes. I'm going to put a clip in here of what this back patio looked like when we first bought the house. It was a mess. It was just literally a huge slab of concrete with rocks all around it. There was nothing to it. It was not beautiful in any way, shape, or form. So everything that you see here, we have built over the past several years. We had this big kind of empty rock space, and my husband was like, what do you want to do with this? And I came up with the idea of doing the U-shaped box so you can kind of walk around all different directions. But then he actually found these bricks on Facebook Market. He got them for free on Facebook Market, and then he went through and made like this beautiful brick, it's not really a patio because it's off to the side, but brick walkway, if you will, around the U-shaped box. So I love that. And then in our very back corner over here, I'm trying not to get too much of the neighbor's house in the video, but in the very back corner we have 2 more hostas and a lilac that we again split from our neighbor next door to us. We split from their yard a couple of years ago, and now it's actually starting to have some real life. It was like this big when we split it. It was really, really tiny. So this is the first year that it's actually got some real size and height to it. So I cannot wait for some lilac blooms. I love the smell of fresh lilac. When you can just tell as you're walking like past everything how amazing it smells. So I'm very excited for all of that to start blooming and be absolutely beautiful. And then over here in this corner, this is like our last little garden box of the area because it's always been under this massive tree. It does not get as much sunlight as all of our other vegetable beds. So we have turned this, or I have turned this into a shade plant box. I love it. I have perennials in here that come back every single year. The ferns are one of them. I have some heucherella over here, which is this beautiful kind of wine-esque color, like very nice chocolatey wine maroony color. They're absolutely beautiful. They have like lovely petals that come up out of them. And then next to that we have our dead nettle, and I love how all of the little kind of like bell-esque purple blooms come on that. And I really, really love the texture of the leaves, how they have this very, very soft minty green in the middle with kind of like this outline of a darker green around the outside of the leaf. I think they're beautiful. So I actually think I'm going to cut the larger one in half and make it part of the box in the front around the dogwood. I think that would be so beautiful as a nice ground covering. So again, that is one of my most affordable tips to you guys if you are growing a garden over years, is to continuously cut your plants as they grow and add them to new spaces. And then walking around to the other side of the patio, the last thing I have is this beautiful ginger wine. I love this 9 bark. I think it is stunning. My husband bought it for me for my very first Mother's Day, and it is getting so large. It was probably only about a foot or so when we first bought it, and now it is a solid like 3.5 feet tall. It can get up to 10 feet tall, which is why we have it over here. We're hoping that it will shade this section of the patio at some point. However, the tree that we have here does a decent amount of shading, so we appreciate that. And then we have our rhododendron here in the corner that had been in the front of our house. My husband moved it back here, and it's actually doing pretty well. I'm very happy with how well it has held up over the years, and I love to see these beautiful white blooms that come out. They only come out for a week, which is the sad thing about rhododendron, but I love them. I look forward to them every single year. And this is the last section of our garden. So like you did like a full circle of our garden. I started right over there, and now we're over on this side, and we have these gorgeous fire bushes. And like I said, they're basically fire trees at this point. They're like 10 to 12 feet tall, or like 10 feet tall on this side, probably more like 12, 13 feet tall on that side. And I love these. They create this beautiful, just tree green wall that is on the side of our yard. It makes it feel very private, very kind of like magical escape-esque sort of secret garden feel here, and I absolutely love how much privacy they give us. And then we have our garden beds over here that listen, over the years, I hadn't figured out exactly what I wanted to do with them, but I feel like I have a pretty good groove with them at this point. So the back line, I have 5 blueberry bushes, and they produce so well. I got 2 of them from like different garden shops over the years, and then the other 3 I just got from my grocery store last year, and they are ginormous. They were such a good deal. I got them from Lidl, which is like a local grocery store. Well, it's not local, but like it is my local grocery store, so one I always shop at. And then in the front here, the front is a mess. I have 1 plant that comes back every single year, and then basically everything else is, we had some tulips, but then they've died. We had some hyacinth, but they have since kind of pittered out. So our big goal for this year is to figure out exactly what we want to get into this box as like a perennial that will come back every single year. So that will look lovely. But again, I have the blueberries in the back, and then I have the other lamb's ear. That's where the original lamb's ear came from, was this one little plant back here, and now it is completely filled in and beautiful. And then this box comes around in an L shape, and on the back side of the L we have some more hostas, and then just in front of the hostas we have this beautiful stretch of hellebores that we purchased probably about 6 or 7 years ago now, and they have been filling in lovely over the years. I love all their different colors. There are a couple of different colors. They're like a winter blooming plant. They bloom the very first in our yard, which is usually about like mid-February. They really are a winter blooming plant. I love them. They're so stunning. So they give us a little bit of winter interest when everything is still kind of dead and settled and not really having any life in the yard. They give us some life. So I always look forward to seeing them every single year. And then even when they die off, their blooms are so lovely that we just keep them there throughout the season. They just add sort of a decorative look to our space. I love them so much. So that is going to be it for this garden tour. I know this was a little bit of a longer video. Please let me know if this is something that you enjoy in the comments below, because aside from decorating inside and doing all of my affordable living and sort of homemaker lifestyle tips from in the house, I also really love to be outside. I get so much life from the fresh air. I love when springtime comes. Over the years, I used to say that I was team summer, which I really was until I had babies. Now I am team spring. I love the spring. I love planting new things. So if this is the type of video that you are interested in, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite part of planting in the springtime is. If you are a gardener as well, let me know what you love to plant, what you're looking forward to in the spring season. And like I said, I'd really like to do another one of these tours in the summertime so you can kind of see how everything's grown, how everything's changed in the season. And I can't wait to have you guys back next week for another video. Like I said, I'm all about affordable living and intentional homemaking. And if that's your bag, please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you really soon. Have an amazing day, guys. Bye.